We only left about 1/4 of an inch outside of this front tape, this front ring. So we want to build that epoxy up. Then we're going to take our reel seat and slide it down. And you can see my epoxy is getting up on my threads right here on the reel seat. Some builders will take masking tape, wrap it around the threads first to keep the epoxy from getting on the threads. Personally, you're going to wipe them down either way, so I let it be. Now if I'm pushing it like this and I'm getting a ton of excess, I'll go ahead and wipe it off. I won't wipe it all off because I want a little bit there to fill in whatever gaps that I didn't get. Just slide it down. And right when I get to the end, I'll clean it up again so I don't get epoxy all over my grip. It's going to happen, but the less, the better. Just, again, spin it, twist it, push it down to make sure it's seated. Again, looking to make sure my reel seat, or my gimbal, is still aligned. There's no gap in there between the gimbal and the rear grip. Now I'm going to clean this up. Again, some builders will go ahead, put their foregrip on, and then clean it up. I like to keep it clean as we go. All right, take a popsicle stick, get the majority of the excess off. Actually, I can go ahead and put it up here because our foregrip is next. And then again, I'll come back with my little water bottle filled with rubbing alcohol and just squirt a few dots of rubbing alcohol onto the excess epoxy. Use a paper towel, just pushed against it, wipe it right off. All right, foregrip. Again, we're going to make sure that we get enough epoxy underneath it. So we've got to see where our grip stops. And again, we come up short, which is what's going to happen every time with foam. Normally not this far. I made this happen on purpose for demonstration reasons. I could probably get a piece of foam that came pretty close. The next size up will fit just about perfectly. But I want to show you again, being that our phone stops there, I'm not forcing it past that point. That's where it naturally stops. I'm going to take my China marker, mark again the top of my foam, take the grip off, slide it up. Sometimes it's real nice to have that rod wrapper sitting there. You know, it's kind of like a third hand or even a fourth or a fifth hand when you're actually wrapping. But just put a bunch of epoxy on there, start smearing it around. Again, making sure we get all the way up to where the grip's going to start getting tight. And then bring that epoxy all the way down. Covering every little gap. Again, especially when you start talking about getting down here towards the reel seat where that diameter is as large as it's going to get, and we're coming down a good ways, it's going to be tight. But by filling those gaps with epoxy, it's going to slide right down in there. That looks good. And again, this is EVA, so you're going to see it's a little harder to push. And we've got a pretty good ways to go. So hopefully we'll make it there pretty quick. Right there. Just slide that rail seat back down. All right. And I'm going to push from the end of the rod, or if I could, if this table was shorter, if I was taller, I'd have the rod straight up and push against it, but I'll see what I can do. It's getting pretty tight. Just pull it and just get it going, and just keep it moving. It's taking a little bit of muscle, but it'll get there. Again, this is only because I use a smaller piece of foam just for demonstration purposes. I'd rather it be too small and have to force it down than too big and be loose. Almost there. Epoxy starting to mushroom out, which is what we want. Let us know we got a perfect bond. Just make sure. And there we go. I'm going to take our popsicle stick once again. Take our excess right off. I'm going to take my water bottle with the rubbing alcohol. Just a few drops. And if you spill excess alcohol like that, it's not going to hurt anything. Rubbing alcohol evaporates. It won't hurt anything. Just clean it up a little bit. All right. There's our grip. Now what I'm going to do, don't forget, we had epoxy all the way up here to slide it down. So I'm going to go ahead and take my rubbing alcohol again up to where I started the epoxy. I'm just going to drip it down. Again, you could just squirt it on a rag. It might be easier for some, but I like to get enough rubbing alcohol on there that it just goes to town on that epoxy. Blank's looking good. And again, that rubbing alcohol won't hurt the foam. So any spots you have epoxy on the foam, just hit them with that rubbing alcohol. Clean it right up. Looks pretty good.